So today, our session today is all about how do you engage your clients with the fact that you can help them enhance their business, and how do you demonstrate that so that they believe in you. And there's quite a few ways of doing that. So we're just going to, sorry, I'm not sure what's happened there. It's my mouse. Do apologise, my mouse just suddenly gone haywire. Can you get my other mouse, please, Andrea? Not quite sure what's happened there. Sorry, 1 second. So I'm just going to get my other mouse in a minute. It's obviously getting some confusion with controlling things. So today we're going to talk about quite a few different things that we can do that just show you how we can sort of work together with our clients. Now I'm just going to check my there we go. Right. Sorry about that. Right. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about really is about what do we already know. Let's start with something we know. Okay, there's no reason why we should make life difficult for ourselves, is there? So we're going to look at what the opportunities are, how we can do it, how we can demonstrate it, how we can start a conversation, and the tools that can make things easier for you. So let's think about things for a minute. Let's think about where we are now. Obviously, with all our skills as accountants, we've got so much knowledge, so many things that we could easily do that could help clients. And if any of you have read any of the stories in The World's Most Inspiring Accountants, which I'm hoping some of you have, that you can see that in there are a whole load. There's a lot of echo. Is that for everybody? Is there an echo for everybody, or is it just Claire? Okay, so Claire, I think there might be a problem with your sound. It might be coming out of two different sections. Okay, lovely. Thank you, everybody. Okay. So going back to our skills, and we're talking about the World's Most Inspiring Accountants, those stories in there where accountants across the UK have made a huge impact on their clients. They've done that just by doing what they would do every day. You know, what we would consider as part of our job, as part of the things that we do as accountants. Knowing that means that we've got the ability to do these things too. So, you know, I know in some of those stories, people have massively changed lives. You know, I was re-watching some of the video footage from the 2016 conference where clients came on stage and told us their story. And there were two people who openly admitted that, you know, they were feeling suicidal before their accountant had come along, and basically it just made them refocus and take things one step at a time and look at the numbers and just change things. You know that lovely story that Phil Ellaby has where he actually helped somebody achieve their dream of adopting a child. All of those things, he didn't do anything special. He didn't have to talk to, he didn't have to do anything as far as the adoption went. He helped the man show that he was financially stable and in a great position to have the responsibility of a child. But all of these things were things that he did every day. So I want us to think about how can we use what we do every day to show people that we can make a difference. So starting very simply from the accounts, okay? And I know we talk about this a lot, that, people don't value accounts, but that's because they don't understand them. So can we talk about accounts in a different way? Those of you that are advanced members, you have access to a BBF, Business Builder Forum, called How to Interpret the Numbers. It's one of those great tools which allow BBF, which allows you to do a 40-minute presentation, and the tools allow you to have the slideshows, the transcript, the PowerPoint presentation, the marketing, to be able to run a 40-minute presentation to your clients. Now that one, it's one of the favorites of most people who do Business Builder Forums, because clients do not understand their accounts. And unfortunately, as accountants, we have our own accountancy speak. So we have shorthand for the way we talk about things, and we sort of assume people know why we do things and what these numbers mean and why they're important. And so the BBF actually talks about how you explain that in layman's terms. How do you show people the value of your accounts? So if you haven't looked at that BBF, please do. If you haven't got access to that yet because you're a foundation member, please let me know and I will send you the transcript so that you can read what it's all about and understand how you talk about it. Because language is really key when you talk to clients, isn't it? It's how do you describe things so that they are relevant? And that's really important. So I think one of the resources, perhaps today as we're going along, if you want to make notes of the resources that I talk about, and then in the calls that we have moving on, with myself or Ellen or Andrea, if you make a note to bring those up in our conversations, we can teach you how to use those tools better. So that's a great one. The second one, obviously, is to think about management accounts. Not all our clients are getting management accounts, but we do know that that's a great way of us having the finger on the pulse of what's going on, particularly if they're timely. If you can turn them around within 30 days of the month end, that's great, isn't it? And you're getting some key information to them. But again, it's explaining to them what is the value of management accounts. How will that help them make informed decisions? And this is the whole point, isn't it? All our numbers are there to help people make informed decisions. So discussing that with them, showing them the management accounts, maybe doing some trend analysis. There's lots and lots of software out there that allows you to do trend analysis to show your client what is happening in their business and how they're being affected by external factors, internal factors, whatever. It's really key to look at that. So starting with the things that we're quite happy to talk about, but thinking about the language that we use when we talk about them, the benefits of how they can help the client. And that sort of information is very easy for us to produce, particularly now we're using, live cloud online data. Getting that information is really useful and easy to get. So our job now is to interpret that, is to explain those numbers in a way that makes sense to our clients. Okay. Now, all these numbers are really useful, aren't they? And they're really key, but are they important to the client? Andrea was telling me earlier that, when she sort of had an accountant, she saw them, they gave her reams and reams of information, none of which was actually relevant to her or she felt was relevant to her at that time. And that, again, is something that we can get a bit carried away with. As numbers people, we can analyze data till the cows come home, can't we? We can come up with every different sort of calculation that shows different things. But if it's not relevant, then we're wasting our time as well as the clients. So the second thing I want to talk about is about making sure that you find out about your client first. It's really important to understand your client. It's all right. I know this is about demonstrating you can provide enhanced business value to them, but how can you demonstrate that if you don't know what they need, what they actually need to help them and what's important to them? So the first thing to do is obviously to talk to them, to listen to them. And I know sometimes that's not built into our chargeable time plan to have a meeting with somebody and just say, tell me what's going on. What's happening in your business? What are your greatest challenges at the moment? What's the thing that's keeping you awake at night? Those sort of questions that just get them to think about. So you drill right down to what is it that's important to them right now. And understanding what's important to them right now means that you can try and find the solution that will be the most value to them. Okay, so having that thought process. So listening to them, asking them questions and really listening to the answers. And making sure that when they respond to you, you reflect back that answer so that you make sure that you've got complete understanding. And maybe drilling around. So, if they've got an issue, why is that issue important? What are the consequences of the challenges that they're facing? So it's important, really, to think about that. And the other thing is to make sure that I'm just going to share a screen, but I've lost it again. Is to make sure that you don't feel that you're asking any stupid questions. It's really important that you ask whatever it is, and you might ask permission. Can I just ask you some stupid questions? I know you've been our client for several years, but things change. Things change in your business. Things change in your life. So it's really important to think, well, what else do I need to know about you? So can I ask you some really stupid questions? Why did you set up your business? You know, what's going to happen to you, to your business if you can't be available? And not only that, we're listening to evaluate how important it is to the client. So understanding that, you know, think about getting some structures, making some notes about your client. At this point in time, this is what's important. And not only that, but what difference would it make? So I'm just going to point you to, I'm just going to show you if I can share my screen, because it's being a bit interesting today. Yeah, let's share the screen. So you all have seen this key numbers thing, haven't you? This is the A4 sheet that Steve often talks about at Masterclass and in quite a few of his webinars, you know, which is a really simple thing. And those of you that have done the clarity roadmap with us will know that we've done this on you in a way. So, but we've added an extra column. So the first column is just some key numbers. What are the key numbers to you? The second column is where you are now. And the third column is where do you want to be? And if you remember on the clarity, and what I would add to this one is, what is your time scale? So, you know, when do you need this to happen? So for those of you that have had this conversation, you know that some of these numbers we have asked you, and we've drilled down as to why it's important, those deadlines you've given yourself. And when you talk to your client and they say to you, for instance, this example, you know, they want to go from 246,000 to $750,000, why is that important? Because when you look at the profits, you know, the profit is not massive in there. So what do they need that profit for? Why do they need it? When do they need it by? And sometimes, you know, they can say, well, I need this money because I want to pay off my mortgage in the next 3 years. And you think, well, actually okay, now I understand. The important thing for you is security. You need to know your house is safe. We need to pay off that mortgage. So that's our focus at the moment, that your business earns enough money to pay off the mortgage. And if you can pay it off faster, wouldn't that be great? That's a great wow as you as an accountant to help deliver. It could be that their personal income, as you can see in this case, is tripled. So why do they need that personal income? Again, you might, as you talk about this and as you learn from them, there could be lots of different things. So for example, they may not have a great pension provision. So they're thinking they need higher income to be putting into some sort of pension or some sort of investment to earn the money. And of course, we're going to talk about a little while about personal balance sheet as a great tool to follow on through this. It could be that they think they need that take-home pay to pay for private education for their children. It could be that it needs to be care for a parent. Knowing all this information, you start thinking about all the tax strategies and the things that you could do to help them. And those accountants in the Most Inspiring Accountants book, that's all they did. They looked at the where you are now and where you want to be, and they asked those questions as to why are these numbers important to you? And that's really key, isn't it, to understand the why. And thinking about that. Now, obviously, I often ask people, and I'm sure you're going to do it on that what else. We've got hours per week on here. But there could be other things that are really key. So I know the joke is always, well, you know, my blood pressure, let's put a blood pressure score now and the blood pressure I would like to be. But sometimes that's really important, isn't it? The health of your client is key. If your client's business is completely dependent on your client, their health is key. How do we help them? You know, what is causing the challenge? What is making their blood pressure so high? That'll be stress. What is causing the stress? The stress could be money worries, in which case you could be helping them with lots of things to do with perhaps debt collection, to do with the cash flow management, all those sorts of things. It could be team. They could be actually having real problems staffing their business or keeping their team engaged, or there are people that are causing them stress within their team. And again, knowing that helps you to direct your focus onto how you can help them, because this is about helping them, isn't it? So understanding those key numbers is really critical. And like I said, the other things that I would suggest that you do is you would look at the personal balance sheet with them. Oh, I've put an extra here. When you look at these numbers it's important to ask them why these numbers are important. So the gain. And some of the great questions is, you know, what would that mean for you? What could it mean for your family? What else could it help you achieve? How would it make you feel? And then the pain. So, some people work towards gain, some people away from pain. Understanding that again about your client is really important, because when the language you use later to encourage them to take action on things will be different, won't it? Depending on whether they're gain people or pain people. So it's important to understand that. So I wanted so I've jumped ahead of myself there. So one of the things that I want to do is think about the personal balance sheet as an extra on. So you've got your key numbers, and a lot of these are personal, some of these are business, but for most people that we talk to, the business is their personal income. It is their only source of income, and it is their only source of income for the future. So knowing that, one of the things you ought to be thinking about looking at is the personal balance sheet. And that's just in System Builder. I'm just thinking I've got one open. Yeah, I'll see if I can open it for you. Okay, so let me just open this one and share my screen so that you can see it. Okay, so the personal balance sheet is really simple. It's in System Builder. It's just an Excel spreadsheet that's in System Builder. It is part of the IHT system originally, and that's great because inheritance tax planning is a key part of what you need to do with people. But this is about actually working out somebody's net worth. And the great thing about this is it not only takes the person's balance sheet, so here we've got data input, which is about liabilities, assets, gifts, balance sheet, but also their other halves. So you can get a combined spreadsheet. Now, the great thing about the combined spreadsheet then is when you start talking about what assets and liabilities are, you can start talking about their future. Okay. Now, we talk about the future as far as IHT planning, but there's lots of other future challenges, aren't there? And so the other thing I wanted to flag up to you is the lifetime financial responsibilities document that's in System Builder. Talking to people about how do they manage money, how do they manage their money for their parents, for their children, how do they do that? Because again, all our planning is to help people make the most effective use of the money that they can take out of the business. And when we start looking at the personal balance sheet and we look at this combined one and we look at their assets and liabilities, you can start also talking about their future. So one of the questions I would obviously ask is, this is great, whatever it is at the moment, these numbers, assets and liabilities. But what are your plans for retirement? When do you think you would like to leave the business? And for example, if that's going to be in 5 or 10 years, say that's in 10 years' time, that's brilliant, okay. When you leave in 10 years' time, what sort of personal income do you want to have? And having looked at that, some people say, I want to leave in 10 years' time, and they might be 70 when they retire. But nowadays, people are living another 20 years plus, aren't they? So 20 years of income they need to support them. And what sort of lifestyle do they want to have in that 20 years? And therefore, what sort of income do they need to have their business to have delivered for them as their sort of pension pot, so to speak? So that can be quite a high number when you start thinking about that. And that means that you need to really, really lift the value of the business. Well, that's what we do, don't we? We're looking at the numbers in the business to help increase its value. But not only that, they might actually not want to leave the business. They might want to create a business that continues to bring them a sustainable income. So that's great. They might have key investments here, but they need to ensure that their main business continues to be profitable, because that is part of their living expenses, so to speak, moving forward. So that is a great way then of talking to people about how do you make the business less reliant on you. So knowing this and being able to talk about it, you can think about obviously systems. You could show them the Gerber DVD, which is a great video, isn't it, to show people about when they get locked in their own businesses, and it's not delivering them what they need. How do you make a business less reliant on you? And so it allows you to talk about systems, about processes, about structure. Now, I know for some of you that's a bit of a challenge because it's not something that you would talk about every day. But again, as part of the content of System Builder, you have a whole suite of training videos and help from us that would help you to deliver that to your clients. Not only that, but you could give or sell them the business edition of System Builder. So they sort of hit the ground running. They start with a suite of systems that they just have to tweak as opposed to start from scratch and just have to write the operational. And those systems, which systems you write, will be driven by some of these key numbers that you're talking about. It comes back every time to the numbers that you're talking about. So having discussed with the client where they are now, where they want to be, what actions do we need to take to drive those numbers to be what they want them to be? And again, those of you that are talking to Ellen and Andrea and myself, you're hearing all this thinking, this is what they tell me. This is the stuff they're doing with me. And that's exactly right. I say every time, what we're teaching you is in order that you teach the same thing to your client. Okay, you share this knowledge. So looking at the numbers, what actions do you need to take? Now, as advanced members, you would have the one-page plan to document that, wouldn't you? And so that's a great tool to just have a sort of a snapshot of some of the key numbers in the business and think about what action needs to be taken. And again, that's a tool that we can have a look at either today or another time, but it's quite a good tool to focus your attentions. But all this time, when you're looking at the numbers, so the personal balance sheet is giving you some key numbers that may be to help them retire, it may be to help them to create a sustainable business that works without them. But understanding that about your client is really key, isn't it? Because that helps you to plan the advice you give them and support them with them. Again, one of the tools you might want to use if you're really interested in drilling down and finding more about with your clients is the goal setting tool. Now, as advanced members, you would have the full suite of goal setting tools, including the Kickstart questionnaire, which is a really lengthy, detailed, drill down focused questionnaire that you can do with clients. But even if you're not advanced, inside System Builder, there is some goal setting for you. And so why not use those same resources on your clients? And it's basically about what is important and why is it important, what's the pain, what's the gain, getting a clear picture. All this time that you spend learning about your client is an investment. And I know, some people are going, well, that's not chargeable time, but it's really important because what you're doing is you're building the relationship with your client, you're strengthening it, and you're becoming more and more aware of their needs so that as you start advising them, they will listen to your advice. And that's the key thing, isn't it? So now you've got a bit more of an understanding of your client. There may be things in your business that you might want to be promoting to your client, things that you think actually I probably need to promote across the board to all my clients, or things that are individual. And so the key then is opportunity spotting. Now, those of you that have been on the value roadmap, you know that in that workbook that we're currently working through, we're starting to list all the key things that your business can deliver. But even in clarity we talk about the windows of opportunity chart. We talk about thinking about the things that we can record that we are talking to our clients about and have a clear picture, and hopefully have a list of all the different services and products that we can deliver in our firm, hopefully with a price list, so maybe they're built into Times Up, so you've got a structured price list aside. But for you have a list, a clarity of things, and that you use something like the Windows of Opportunity chart to track that. Because from my point of view, as an AVN member, you need to be getting return on investment with AVN. So you need to be promoting some of these AVN tools and tracking that you are talking about them and tracking the sort of take-up of them. And if you're not getting great take-up, being able to come back to us and go, right, what do we need to change in our way that we're presenting these tools so that we get a better response? So that's important to me. Now, again, I'm sorry, you're going to hear this a million times from me today. System Builder, as you imagine, if you type in WOO, W-O-O, or Windows of Opportunity, you get either a Word document or you can get an Excel spreadsheet that allows you to monitor this. And this is a great way of just thinking about what else you do. And also for the team to be aware of everything that you do and to spot opportunities when you're doing jobs. So, for example, you could be doing a set of accounts for somebody and you can see that their debtor days is terrible. Okay. But as a firm, you have a really great debt collection policy internally. You know that. then why not share that knowledge with your client and help them put in a debt collection policy that works? There's one in System Builder that you can use with them, or they can have System Builder and use it, use them internally. But you can help them with that. You might see that actually their creditors' days is probably very, very low and could be tweaked a bit. So there could be some negotiation with creditors. Well, great advice you could give somebody, a windows of opportunity to talk to them. You could say that actually they've got money sat in a savings account that's earning them absolute rubbish interest, as we know it is at the moment. So perhaps spotting that opportunity to discuss with them, either speaking to a financial advisor or finding another way of investing that money to earn them more interest would be a great discussion point. And as somebody who's producing a set of accounts, I think it's really important that you have a sheet at the set of the accounts file where you can tick up, you can mark these windows of opportunity. You can say, I have spotted this, I have spotted that. So whoever is talking to the client, whoever is face-to-face in those meetings, can have those conversations and say, while we were doing your accounts, we spotted these things. And that shows that you're being really proactive. It shows that you're thinking about them. It shows that you're trying to find ways of enhancing their business. And all of this is just done on the key numbers that we already look at, the work that we already do. And that's the focus on it. So the windows of opportunity could be used two ways. It can be ways used by your team to flag things that they've seen as they're producing the accounts, or as they've talked to the client, or in any other sort of situation that involves the client's records or conversations, of opportunities to talk with them. But it can also be used as a marketing tool so that you can track what you're talking about to your client base at any one time and the sort of response you're getting and how you then position that. So as a team, you could brainstorm. You could say, right, actually, this month, we've set ourselves a goal to try and talk to 80% of our clients about the personal balance sheet. And then the whole team know that. The whole team know that that's part of the process. Now, how do you make that happen? Well, the only way you make that happen is by adding that to your agendas. And I'm really hoping that most of you are using agendas for every meeting. And that means online, just like we're having now, as well as face-to-face, that people understand what is going to happen in a meeting and they can be prepared. So, for example, if you're going to talk about the personal balance sheet, I wouldn't call it the personal balance sheet. On your agenda, you might be able to, your net worth. Reviewing your net worth might be one of the key lines. But then if it becomes on the agenda and it's in every meeting, then whoever holds that meeting knows that it has to be discussed. And then on your windows of opportunity chart, against that client name, you can tick whether you told them and whether they showed interest in it and whether they choose to buy that as an additional service. And for those of you that use Times Up, because of that would just go straight into an extra work order or go into Times Up as an additional quote. So really simple way of managing that. Okay. There are, just to point you out, there are a few videos in System Builder about cross-selling. So again, have a look at those. After this meeting, I will send you an email with some links in. So we will track that, we'll make sure you've got those. But again, always go to System Builder first. If you can't find what you need in System Builder, pick up the phone or drop us an email, because we'll be able to point you in the right place. We might just send you a direct link. It's easier sometimes. So now you've understood your client, you maybe have spotted some opportunities to help them, and you've sort of it's been softly, hasn't it, to think about what can we do can help them, what little things can we put in place that will make a difference to them. But some of them need a little bit of a jolt to know that they need to change. And that's where something like the benchmark software could be really helpful. So I just wanted to just have a very quick look at benchmark. I'm just going to open it in a second and I will share my screen. Where's it gone? There we go. Okay. So benchmark, which is now on the AVN app dashboard, okay, because it's now all up in the cloud. It should open with a list like this of your clients. Okay. Now, there are just a couple of things that I wanted to just bring to your attention, back office things for you, because this is obviously a back office tool that gives you reports that you can talk to your clients about. The first thing is that obviously make sure that in your company information, you've got all the key things, you've put in your logo, and there is a bit of a challenge here, obviously, that it is the aspect's quite important to get your logo so it doesn't look distorted. Again, if you've got any challenges with that, drop us a line and we can help you with that. But make sure that, obviously, any reports it's producing is promoting your business. Okay. The second thing is that, obviously, when you put in a set of clients' details, so up here are the key information, key things that you can put in. So you can edit client. I'm just going to minimize my picture for a second so that I can see the icons. So up here you can edit, you can add a new year, and then you can produce the reports, okay? So just one little thing I really wanted to point out to you, because I'm getting a lot of contact about this, people that are asking me questions, okay? Once you've put in your client details, and obviously whatever reference you have for your client, and you've used the little wizard here to create the right activity, because we don't just use SIC code, we go right down to activity. And again, if you can't find it, please contact us. It's much easier for us to do it rather than you spend hours searching. Then we can get the code. The bit that I really wanted to talk to you about is that you get all this information in as best as you can. Okay. I need to warn you that if you have numbers like this, which are my numbers here, that are all in zeros, then it will flag to us that this is not real information, because most people don't have round numbers on everything. So this is just obviously for me as a test one, but if you put in something like this, it would flag to us that there was a problem with this data. Okay. Making sure you've got that data in, you can then generate the reports. Oh, sorry, just linked. You can generate the reports. Okay. And the reports, I've just gone straight to the report that allows me to pick, obviously, who I am, which year of records I'm going to pick. I've got two lots in here for some reason. And then whichever template you want. And this is, again, one of the things I wanted to point out to you. There are several templates in here, and they're really important that you know about them all. So most people use the one-page performance improvement report, and we'll pull that up in a minute. And that's that simple one with the colour blocks, and it's very easy to talk about. And you could do that for free for somebody just to open their eyes to the possibility of change. And that's the key one. The other two, the long and the short ones, they're ones that you should charge for, and they're in Time's Up as chargeable. Now, the short one takes just a handful of key metrics and talks about how to change them. It doesn't tell them what to do, because it's encouraging them to come back to you and ask for help. But it's focused on some set key metrics. The long one looks at all the different metrics in there, and so it's quite a lengthy report. What I would recommend is you print the For Your Eyes Only for you, okay? Because what that does is it not only gives you the data input that you've done, but it explains to you how the numbers have been calculated. If, like me, you are a bit of a numbers person and you like to know how that was worked out, so that if somebody asks you, you can explain it, then that's the report you need, okay? It also gives you some advice on what to do, as well as following up some of these numbers. So some of the training is here. Now, there is also a huge amount of training in System Builder, okay, under toolkits. If you go into document type toolkits, there is one called Benchmark Toolkit. And that not only shows you all the different reports, it explains how to generate them, it explains how to talk about them, it explains how to position them with your clients. So that's really important. This one here, just so you know, is mine. I've just played with it, because you can create your own templates if you choose to. Now, the other thing that I really wanted to point out today was this bit. Drill down comparative criteria here. Now, this is the most important thing I'm going to tell you about benchmarking, okay? Do not fill any of this in unless you really, really have to, okay? Because what this does is it narrows down the data massively. So currently, under computer programming, I've got 1,252 sets of data. If I chose to only have accounts in my particular year end, I'm pretty certain there wouldn't be many in there, if any, okay? If I choose to only have accounts that have a lower turnover a turnover that's between a lower and upper, again, I'm narrowing down the search. And because it works on comparatives, it's working on metrics, it doesn't matter this. I know we have people who say to me, but I'm special and I only want to know these things. But to be honest, they're not. Trading entity might be something you want to look at. So you may choose to narrow it down to only looking at limited companies or only sole traders if you want to. But again, the software takes account of that, doesn't it? Because it asks you to put in a salary. You know, on a business owner, it says to put in a salary for a manager. So if the business owner couldn't be in that business, what would you have to pay somebody? And on a limited company, it asks you to make an adjustment for the directors, because we know that most of the time they'll be taking their money out of their directors' loan accounts and taking the minimum amount through wages. So adjustments are already made in the data you've put in. So you shouldn't really need to choose trading entity, but it's there. And then the other people say to me is regions, because we're different in the south than we are in the north. We're different in the east and the west. We're different in Scotland than we are in Somerset. It doesn't, to be honest, again, because we're talking about metrics, key numbers and percentages, it doesn't make a difference. But if that's key to you, remember, you're going to really reduce the data. If you are going to pick one of these, pick one only, please. Okay, don't pick multiple, because it's really going to narrow down the amount of data. And the less data you have, the less valid it is for making discussions. And the discussions are all about reasons for change and what action you're going to take. And if the data is not there, you can't really have a true discussion. I would also never ever use anything that had data less than about 20 sets if I could. 10 is the absolute minimum we recommend. And it does warn you if there is 10, that maybe you might need to go up a level. Okay, but you choose that, and then it will bring up the right data. But if you can, please don't add those extra drill down criteria, because what you're doing is reducing the data sets that are available to you. And then, of course, it will produce your report. So the most simple one is the one-page one. And I'm hoping most of you have seen this, but it's a really nice, simple product. Again, there's some information here. So we're just looking on a very basic level about where they rank in the data that we have submitted in the benchmark software to similar firms with the same activity code. And so what this allows you to do, again, is talk about what things could happen. Now, most people I know would zoom straight into those lovely red ones. You've got real problems with some of these red ones. And I agree. They are ones that we could focus on. But what I also want to do is try and find people some easy wins as well. So some of these might be challenging to change quickly. So think about it and then work out from there which is best for you. I would also try and make people feel good about the green ones. You know, some places are doing really good in this. Well, that's fantastic. And for that, return on capital employed is fantastic. Well done. It means you're actually really getting a better return on your investment. So we'll talk about it here. We've got debtors days is really great. That's fantastic, isn't it? So you can talk about those sorts of things and talk about them clearly. Now, it comes in two parts, this document, just so you know, okay? So this is the one where it shows you what improvement there could be to profits if they matched the upper quartile. So not the best, not the worst. In fact, the software takes out the very best and the very worst, because they're obviously not anomalies. They're not the norm. I mean, they're great, but they're not the norm. So it takes out those, and then it does all its calculations. So the upper quartile it will look at. In this case, on the sales, they are in the upper quartile. They're green. So it actually says, well, if you could just do 10% more, what would make a difference? So that in this case, you've got £12,000 in extra profit just by adding an extra 10% on their sales. Now, of course, that opens loads of things. You know, again, from that Clarity workbook that we've been working through together, the first thing it says is, could you increase your sales by 10%? Could you charge 10% more? What difference would it make? And again, having that conversation is really great, isn't it? Because it depends on, obviously, their industry, but 10% for most people is not a massive amount on a sale. And for those people, again, who are very skeptical of that, advanced members, you have business potential, a great tool for showing how many clients they could afford to lose if they up to 10%. And you can use simple stuff that works for that too if you want. Slightly more long-winded, but you can do it that way. So all of these is a conversation, but the other important one is actually what the client wants. So the second one, which would be a second meeting. The first one is the possibilities, which could be a free meeting. And the second meeting is, right, what do you really want to do? And here you can see that the action is, how are you going to get there? So, for example, if they say, well, yeah, actually, I could up my prices by 10%, that's their target. You can fill in the numbers. What are they going to do? They're going to test putting up a proportion of their products by 10% in the next 30 days. Okay, and they're going to measure the response to that. So you help them with that. Now, with all of these, again, all you need to say is, do you need help with that? To help them put in the measures and the place, because that's what we're good at, numbers and measuring numbers, so that's easy. So this becomes their plan. And the plan is that they've taken these numbers up here, they've seen what's the possibility, they've put in them what they want to actually happen, and the question is, are they going to take action, or do they need you to keep them on track to do that? And as we know that most business owners haven't got time to do any more than they're currently doing, so let's help them move forward. And that's a chargeable piece of work, isn't it? So you would talk about that with them. So I think Benchmark is a great tool for you to actually start showing people how you could help, even if it's something really simple. I mean, sometimes you get this and it says that to meet the upper quartile, you could grow your sales by another 40%. And you to go back and say, well, do you know what? I can see that. That's true, but let's start smaller. Why don't we try 10%? And show them business potential SSTW. That gives them that comfort zone that they're trying things. And to test on only part of their product base, that's a good way of doing it as well. So this is a really great tool to just start the conversation for those people who need to see that there is a possibility for change and that you are the people that can help them. What this is also doing is changing the way that you are positioned out there, isn't it? And that's the important thing again. Or, one of the things we talk about in positioning is about how do you change the way that people perceive us as business advisors. They don't just think about the accounts, they think, what else can we do? And that's what we're competing out there against, isn't it, as accountants? We're not competing against people who can produce a set of accounts. We're competing for those clients that actually want business advice and want to grow. So this is one of those great tools. Okay. One of the other great tools, I'm going to couple of other things. So I think the agendas thing is actually another way of positioning yourself differently, because you're setting the scene before meetings. People are coming in and they're not blind. They also, to what's going to happen. They know that they've got, when you go into something and you're not sure what's going to be doing and you think, oh, this is going to run on for hours and I really need to get back to my job and all the rest of it. To have an agenda and to know what's going to be covered and the key points makes you think about what you're going to deliver in that meeting, but B, gives the customer, the client, the confidence and they know what's going to be happening in that meeting and come prepared. So again, you'll know from Clarity that one of the things that we say to people is about asking for referrals to grow your business. And we always say the first thing to do is put it on your agenda. Who else do you know that I could help? And particularly if you can put somewhere on that agenda, somewhere just as a little aside, our ideal client looks like this. And it might be our ideal client looks like you. Or it might be our ideal client looks a bit different. It doesn't matter. But this is the sort of person you want to look for. People knowing what's coming, they'll be prepared. So on your agenda, if you've put that you're going to, who else can help, and you're going to put about reviewing your net worth, so you can talk about personal balance sheet. It might be discussing how your competitors are doing. And so again, all these things you can put on an agenda, and you can send the agenda out before the meeting on an email and say, is there anything on this agenda that you really want us to talk about, and anything on this agenda that you're not bothered? Because then obviously in your time span, you can manage that. So if somebody says to me, I'm really interested in finding out what my competitors are doing, then that's the key point of that meeting, isn't it? Because that's the bit you're going to add value on. So just having that structure is really important. Other ways of changing the perception that people have of you. So brochures, or the way that you show your business and the products and services that you have, is a great way. So there are some in System Builder. I told you you're going to be bored of me saying System Builder. I'm bored of me saying System Builder. It comes out all the time. There are some brochures in there. They are there for you to edit and change. There are also a whole suite of, we call them service information sheets. Now, again, those are the documents that currently attach to Time's Up. So if you go into Time's Up and you pull up a service and you're not sure how to explain it to your client, and there's a little button that looks like a document to the side of it, that will pull up a sheet that's in System Builder that explains the benefits of why the client should ask you to do that work. What difference will it make to them? And again, we've got to be really careful that we don't talk in accountancy speak. We talk about, what difference is it going to make to them in time, in effort, in stress? What's it going to save them somehow in those areas? So having that conversation is really important. So those service information sheets, again, are things that you could just take and tweak, make your own. You can create extra ones really simply for all the different services, and then put them together. Once you've got that text, it can easily become a brochure that shows people all the things you can do. And again, when we talk, if you remember, moving through these roadmaps again, in positioning, we look at how we want to show you. And in positioning, we write the entry for the Business Owner's Guide book. And part of that is how you position your business as a whole. And then in value, we look at how do you describe all the different services and products that you offer. And by doing those two roadmaps with us, you are building up the right language to put into things like those service information sheets, to put into things like brochures, and to put on your website and have that consistency. And that's how you change people's perception of you, and to have that, to make ensuring you've got that consistency across all those different things, your emails, everything else. But using those two roadmaps, positioning and value, to help you build that language can be really key to what you're doing. So the way people see you, your website, again, is another key place to have a look at positioning, isn't it? Nowadays, your website is very rarely a direct lead generator, but it is your shop window. So when people hear about you, the first thing they do is Google you. They look at your website, they look at your LinkedIn profile, they look at your Facebook if they can get on it, and to find out about you. It's back to that know, look, like, and trust factor, which we do a lot more in the profile roadmap. But that's a big thing to get that right too, about how people perceive you. A couple of other tools that can really help with this. One of them is On Track. So On Track is currently not on the AVN dashboard. It's a separate piece of software. You should have an icon on your desktop. I'm hoping that you've all looked at that. If not, it's a very quick overview for it. It's a back office piece of software. Okay, it's designed for you to answer a series of yes/no questions based on your existing knowledge of your client. And if you don't know the answers, it tells you what to put, so you can just get the right feedback. And it produces several documents. Now, the two key ones are the Key Improvement Possibilities Report, which is the draft document that will basically sell or promote all the different services that you could offer, various different things, ranging from debt collection to power of attorney. And I'm not saying you're going to deliver the paperwork for power of attorney, but to get them to think about it as making sure they're understanding about the whole of their business and them as being part of it. And the second thing it produces is a For Your Eyes Only document. And the For Your Eyes Only document tells you exactly how you deliver on every single thing that's mentioned in the Key Improvement Possibilities Report. So that product itself is a great tool for you to start showing clients and prospects that you do more than just accounts. Okay. If you've not used it, please go in and just run a dummy company through it, okay, and pull off those two documents, if nothing else. Okay, and what you'll see is there's nothing in there that's frightening. Okay, all of it is very easy to deliver, but the way it's positioned in the Key Improvement Possibilities Report is that you have proactively thought about their business and thought, what could we do that would help them? It's all about them, isn't it? What can we do to help? And again, with all of these tools, if there is anything in there that you do question, how do I deliver this? Pick up the phone. That's what we're here for, to show you how to deliver it. But as I said, there's nothing difficult in there. It creates 2 other documents, okay? The first one is a letter to get people to come into a meeting. So the idea is that you could send this letter out to a select number of clients or prospects each month. Again, this might go on your Windows opportunity chart, couldn't it? You know, that we've done an on-track review. And so you pick, I don't know, 10 clients a month that you will you will send them out the letter to try and get them in to come and meet you. And the letter basically says that we've been thinking about your business and we've come up with some key improvement possibilities, and we'd like to discuss a draft report with you and some key ideas in there. Now, the software generates a document that basically lists every idea that you could talk about, and I think there's possibly 24, something around that time. Now, there's no way you can cover 24 things in a meeting, particularly if you really only want to invest an hour, 90 minutes in it. Because again, this is it's classed as a free meeting, and you need to think about this again as an investment in your client. With some of these free meetings we talk about, you almost need to see them as part of your marketing budget. You know, this is a way of getting increased leads for additional work. So think of it in that way. So on track, it's asked them to come in for an hour's meeting, 90-minute meeting, to discuss them. Now, on that letter, I would actually delete all of them apart from 3. And I would say the top 3 that I think we should discuss on the day are these. And the 3 that I would put were A, 3 that I was very happy to talk about. So they're within my comfort zone. And B, would make a difference to the client. So knowing that, they're the 3 key things. So the client knows that actually when they come in, they are going to learn something that's of value to them. Might be a little thing, might be a big thing, but they know it's going to be worthwhile for their time coming in. And on the letter it says, you can say, we've also probably got another 20 or so ideas that we won't have time to discuss in that meeting, but you can take the report home and we could meet another time to discuss those. So you can adjust the letter and change it, but I think that's the thing to do. So the idea is the letter gets sent out with a suggested meeting date or with a link to some online booking program that you could use to book your time. And they come in and you show them the key improvement possibilities report, and it says draft for discussion all over it. So it's very clear that this is not a document that is sort of a advice giving document. This is just a suggestion document. And for everyone it says, you could do this. Would you like help with that? So we've noticed that your debtor days are higher than normal, and you'll have got that from benchmark or from doing the accounts. We recommend you review your debt collection policies. Would you like help with that? Because we have a process that does that. So that's, I mean, my wording, not on the documents. Documents much better. So it gives those sorts of things. And in the meeting, you would talk about the 3 things you want to talk about. The software also produces the 4th document, which is an action plan. And so you would print the action plan to have in the meeting. And the key part on that action plan is helping them to prioritize the actions on it. So for each of the recommendations, it will come up with an action. So the action might be review debt collection policy, okay? And then your job is to skim through that action plan after you've talked about your 3 key important things and say, how important is this? Now, those of you that have been on my other training, we've discussed, haven't we, lots of times, how do you prioritize? And it really is, it's up to you how you do this. I'm very much into impact and effort. So if something has a high impact with low effort, that's what I want to do first. So I would ask a client, what impact would this have on your business if we could fix this? High, medium, low. How much effort would it take to put something in place to fix this? High, medium, low, and you get that combination. Do you need help with this? Is the next question on the action plan. Tick, yes, I do. Great. We will come back then with a price and a proposal for how we will help you with that. So we're not going to keep doing stuff for free after this meeting, but that's the proposal. So the action plan is a way of giving them a process. You will take a copy of that. In fact, what I normally do is say, can I take the action plan back with me? And what I'll do is go back to the office, or if it's in my meeting, I will reschedule this action plan and prioritize it. And I'll send it you this evening, and it'll be in the order that you think is most important. So you know where you need to focus your attention. And all you need to do is go back into the software, and the software has a little slider bar on the action plan that allows you to say whether something is more important or less important, and it will move its placing on the action planner. And then you can regenerate it and email it off. And so all of this is about, A, positioning you differently, positioning you as somebody who can offer more than accounts, and is thinking not only about the business, but about the business owner, because it talks about personal wealth, it talks about IHT planning, it talks about power of attorney, it talks about lifetime financial responsibility, it talks about all those sorts of things. But not only does it show that, but it helps you with them create almost a plan of action. Now, whether or not they take action is up to them, but you having a copy of the action plan gives you something to keep going back to them. That becomes your windows of opportunity chart for them. In a way, this is their personalized windows of opportunity chart. They've said they've got an interest in all these things. So your job is to keep in contact with them and ensure that they take action, preferably with your assistance on those things. So that's a great way of doing it. I couldn't talk about positioning, could I, if I didn't talk about time's up? Sorry, it's my passion. So again, all these things we've talked about, you need to be able to show people, and not only show people, but show people that they have a value. These meetings that we often talk about, for On Track, or maybe for the even first benchmark, we often say you do them for free because you want to encourage that connection. But you need to explain to people that there is a price. Okay. So going back to time's up, and I'm going to open it, so I'm going to open it anyway. Sorry. I'm going to do it, so let's just do it. Okay. A few little things in here I just wanted to show to you, because, again, people forget about how customizable this product is and how useful it can be for you. So this tool is to be used in front of clients, because it's about showcasing your business. So just like your website could be your shop window, your brochure could be your shop window, this is another way of showing people. But it also shows people sort of consequences. It's about choice here and about them having choices. So everything they do results as a result choice. So if I just pick, let's pick one now. I've got one open. There we go. Okay. So in here we've got just a very basic quote. I've done your business. I'm not sure what I've played with on this. So I've got some key information in here that it pulls through when you set up the client. And we've talked before, but again, just to remind people, one of the things that your team need to be aware of is what is and is not included in the price when you do a job. So the accounting systems rating sheet, which is the document behind this, I'm not sure if you can see that, so I'm just going to pull it up. There we go. So I'm hoping you can all see the accounting rating system sheet. It allows you to define what is and isn't included. And as a team member, you need to know what's been agreed, so that when you get the books and records in and you find that you're doing things that the client has said they will do themselves, you can report that and an extra work order can be done. Because so many people say to me that the frustration they have is that they often end up doing things for free. So if I go back to, time's up. Being clear about what is and isn't included is really important. And that allows you to talk about opportunities for helping them more. Being clear about what service level somebody's got. So if I just scroll down, here we go, service level, a bit bigger, is really important too. So these documents here, which again are in System Builder, are really important for your team to know what is and isn't included as far as the service. Now, when you use this software with a client, in front of the client, everything that they pick has a consequence. Okay, so if they choose, in this case, to go from 5 to 4, they can see what they're not getting. In this case, they're not getting some business growth stuff that we're going to do with them. If they go down to your basic, then they can see even more the things they're not getting. So they're clear about what isn't included. So that's really important, so they understand that. This is your shop window, as I said, so it's really important that on this software, you put every service that you deliver, okay? I would actually change that and have a whole section on bookkeeping and possibly have a whole section on VAT. I mean, that's getting so many different ways of doing that now. So have a section that's, invoice-based, cash-based, international transactions, online transactions. You could do all sorts of things in that, couldn't you? This is a tax planning one. Management accounts we talked about earlier, a great way of showing people and showing the consequences. So, for example, that's the document, the service information sheet that explains the benefits of that service. But if I want to have them 4 times a year, they immediately see the change in the price. But I know what I'm going to give you for that. So here I would change this language in your version of Time's Up to explain that more. And again, when we do the value roadmap, that's what we do. We sit down and we go, right, management accounts. What is it that we are helping the client to achieve by having management accounts? And we will write that down. There's a special grid we do, and then we'll go back into Time's Up and we'll change this language in our defaults so it reflects exactly what it wanted to say. So this just says we'll prepare management accounts. Well, what does that mean? Why is that important? This is to help them make strategic decisions on the way the business is being run, isn't it? Look at key trends, things like that. You could do all sorts of things in that anyway. Here's some of the business development services. And again, we've talked about different levels of benchmark reports. This is why it explains it. So the 3-star is the 1 page. So you could have done that for free for somebody. But if you switch it on, it does have a value. Remember, this is a monthly value over 10 months. If they had the 5-star, the long one, this is a 3-hour meeting to discuss it and create an action plan. So that has a very different price tag. Okay. So again, you can showcase everything that you do. You allow people to see the possibilities, and they may not choose to buy it now, but they might, but at least they know it's there. They may not feel it's actually applicable to their business. But you know what? When they're talking to some of their friends, they may spot a friend who could do with that service. They might say they might actually know somebody who really needs help with systems, or maybe is having a really challenging financial time at the moment that could do with some structure to help them to change that. And knowing that you do it is there. The payroll, again, I would create a whole chunk on payroll. And this is one I've been playing with bookkeeping, to start building a bookkeeping process. All these things you can put in whatever you like into Time's Up. And it's great because it produces whatever you want and shows them the consequences of their actions. And down here, we're getting to see what they have and haven't got. In the software as well, just so you're aware, because I think quite a few people are missing this, is that once you've done a quote and it's been accepted, inside the quote itself, so the quote for your client, in the options, there is a print workings document. Okay, and what that does is it shows you exactly how that fee was calculated. Again, so your team can look at this when the books and records come in and actually match whether these things are right. So in this case, I've got a turnover range. Has anything happened that massively changed that? I've got a computerized very good system. We've got a accounting rating sheet that will tell me what that means. In this case, I've picked the very basic compliance service. So anything else that comes up, we need to do an extra work order for. There's no free advice built in this. And then we've put in a few, I've just ticked some other things obviously in here that I've got to do. But I know that I'm doing management accounts, I'm doing a profit review, and I'm looking at the quality of the books and records. This is, again, another bit of a differentiator. If in System Builder, surprise, surprise, there is a document, okay, which is about the quality report, the accounting's records quality report. And what that, again, does is it allows your team to write down, as they're doing the accounts, the things that they've found that the client has done incorrectly. So all the times they've misposted something to the wrong nominal account in whatever, Xero, Sage, whatever they're using, the amount of times that they've claimed VAT or not claimed VAT on something, the amount of times where they've missed something, recurring errors, really, things they could do. And also where they think that a client could be trained to almost go up a level on the accounting systems rating sheet to be able to do a bit more. And then that report gets shared back to the client, and it just It's a great thing. First of all, it shows them that you've really looked at their books and records. Secondly, you're training them to stop making those mistakes. Those mistakes that year after year you have to keep fixing. It's really frustrating that they're constantly doing that same problem every time. Well, it's because nobody told them that it's wrong and taught them how to fix it. So you teach them how to fix it. So you don't have that extra time spent fixing things next time. Thirdly, you've given them an opportunity in a way to reduce their accountancy fee if they have some training to do more. Now, why would you do that? Well, because actually if the books and records are better, if making the accounts is easier, then you have much more time and opportunity to talk to them about doing some other things. You know, doing the benchmark, going through On Track, perhaps doing business potential or simple stuff that works or something that's extra because you've got a bit of sort of freedom. So that's a great resource to print for you, for the team. You can also, if you want to, print the proposal again at any time. And as you all know, the same thing can be done for the tax. So on the tax, you've got all the different things that are taxed, the different levels of services. You can also add other items. So, for example, on a partnership, you could have 2 lots of your tax. One for John, one for Dave. Let's do a Dave, shall we? And all the rest of it. In here, we have our mortgage reference letter pricing model. So that's a way of pricing for something that people really need really quickly and doing it as a special project. Or you can do just a special project. So all those things we've talked about where all you've said to them is, do you need help with that? If they've said yes, you can write a detailed description of what you're going to do if it's not already built into Time's Up. And I would have a very detailed description, including the amount of, the outcome and preferably the time scale, not in hours, but that within the next so many months we will have done. And then you can do a pricing. So you can do a fixed price and you can do it monthly or upfront. So for those extra things, you can get paid upfront as opposed to your monthly billing, or you can spread it if you feel that would be a great way of incentivizing your client to buy more from you. So another way of showcasing all the different things that you do. Gosh, I've covered so many things. Right, so I've noticed that I've not actually checked the chat box recently, so I'm just going to have a very quick look at the chat box and just see if there's anything that anybody's asked me. Okay. Right. Has anybody got any questions at the moment of things that, I've spoken to that you would actually like a bit more information on, or because I've whizzed through an awful lot, because today was about just showing you opportunities. And then the idea is that if as your business, you want to really focus on one of these tools or get some really in-depth training, then we can do it online as a group or one-to-one. Interpret your numbers script. Sorry, Mark, what was that? You've put interpreting your numbers script. Oh, yes, definitely, yes. So that's the BBF. So yes, I will send that out, the transcript of that. Brilliant, that's fine. Yeah, I agree with Carl. So today, I've just covered a huge amount of things, and I'm hoping you've all written down all these different tools and resources that I've highlighted to you. And it's really important for you to pick 1 or 2 things and actually decide to do them. To say, right, I am going to build my windows of opportunity chart, and it could even just be a whiteboard, on the wall. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be something fancy. And say, this month, I am going to, like I said, send out the on-track letter to 10 clients. And my goal is to get 3 of them to come to meetings and have time in data. Or my goal is to get 4 people to come to a benchmark. When you amend the text in Time's Up, does this change that quote? Right. Okay. Great question, Jane. Okay. So Jane has asked me that when you amend the text in Time's Up, does it change the quote only or all the future text in our version of the software? It depends where you do it. Okay. So if, for example, you're inside a quote, and we'll go to something like VAT returns. If you want to change this text inside a quote, it will only change the text in their quote only. Okay. And it's the same if you were in the settings within their quote, it will only change their one quote. If you want to change the text so it happens for all future quotes, you need to go right back to the Choose a Client screen. And in the Choose the Client screen, the options and everything that you change in here affects any future quote. It doesn't affect any existing quote, because quotes are sort of locked down as you prepare them with the pricing at that moment in time, and therefore any text associated with that pricing. But any future quotes, they will change. And so I would suggest that with any of these optional extras, if you go into them, so I'm just going over here, this text here, you change, and you change in that main Choose a Client screen. And that way it will apply to anybody moving forward. This is always a great place as well to add anything else. So always make sure when you're adding new services or anything else you want to do, that you do it right back at that Choose a Client screen, because that's where it all starts. Any more questions, anybody? You're welcome, Jane. Okay. So we've got quite an. So just wanted to bring your attention to a few things. I would like, if possible, now, this is going to be the challenge for you all, I would like you all to type in the chat box the one thing from what I've talked about today that you would like to investigate further or action. So if you put what it is and then investigate or action, I or A, with your name, please. Everybody just pick one thing. Then we'll flag that, obviously, for our future calls. Thank you, Jeff. See, first person. Thank you. Okay, so if you can do that, then I will track that through, and Andrea and Ellen and I will follow all that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Just let you all put that in. Today, an awful lot of things that I showed to you today. Let's see if I can get back to. Thank you. If you keep adding them in, that'd be great. Okay. So Louise, you put system builder, so that's a biggie, isn't it? So it may be that you want to talk to us about how we chunk that down into something that's easier for you. Lovely, some great stuff there, fantastic. Right, so before we finish, I just wanted to share with you next month's training. So next month we're on the 11th of October, which is the day before the conference. Was I mad or not to book that? I don't know. Anyway, but we've got a really important subject, which is managing the millennials. Maybe some of your team would like to help us with this, if you want to. But we have a guest contributor, Sarah Cripps from Salad Skills Limited. Would you like to say anything about Andrea?
Hi, folks. I came across Sarah. Hello. Hello. I've been sat here listening in the background. So I came across Sarah probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And in terms of people and people's development, Sarah's done an awful lot of work with apprenticeships. And one of the things, obviously, with apprenticeships is these are young people and millennials. And I had a chat with Sarah about her views on it, and she's actually done a lot of work recently in understanding what millennials are, how they need to be treated in the workplace, how you can get the most out of them, and how you can benefit from them as a business. And I found that really interesting. So I thought, well, when this session came up, Emma and I chatted, and we said it'd be really good to get Sarah in, and we can pick Sarah's brains, and you can pick Sarah's brains on how to get the most out of the millennials. So we've got it sorted. So hopefully we'll see you on the 11th of October, and you can find out a bit more from Sarah about this area.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, it's for those of you that are millennials that are listening, because I know some of you brought your team, this is about us understanding better how to help you get the most out of your working life in the business you're in as well. We know that most people tell us that the biggest challenge they have is communication. And that's because there's a bit of a generation gap with this, and things are different now. You know, Well, they are, aren't they? The whole working environment is very different now. And so, what we're hoping to do is perhaps learn a little bit more from Sarah, and adapt, and help, the business owners, the partners in the business to be able to adapt, so that you can encourage these younger people to work with you, because most of them are actually also very enthusiastic about a lot of this added value work. They do an awful lot of networking, and they are very good at communicating with people. And I think it's, be useful to help them get the most out of their job, particularly as we go more and more down the sort of artificial intelligence stuff to do a lot of the technical online stuff. Engaging people who are good at embracing engaging work with clients will be really valuable, I think. So if you can come to the 11th, that would be great. To click on the online training button that's on your AVN app, and that'll click you straight through. And it's just for us. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can turn up on the day. You know that this is the room everybody trains from. But it's nice for us to know who's coming, to make sure that we can follow it up if necessary. And then I've got a few live events. So just a few for you here. So if you haven't come on booked your place on the October conference, why ever not? Is it buy one get one free?
It is. Places are booking up really quickly.
Yeah, there's not many, so I think it's probably about 30 places left or something. So if you've not got your place, please let us know. Either go online and book it, or let us know so we can get you there. I've got some fantastic speakers this year. And then, obviously, I keep going on about roadmaps, and I've kept going on about roadmaps today. And there are a few that I really alluded to help with about your positioning and your value. So I've just put down there, the next positioning one is actually the 29th of November. So those of you that are on the Clarity Roadmap, that's your deadline, guys, for us to start getting you moving onto the positioning. This is how you can showcase your practice to prospective clients and to existing ones, actually, in a different way. And these are all at AVN. So that'd be a great day to move you forward. I know as that begins, we're starting into tax season, but you know what? This is really important stuff to start planning and get moving for the new year. And hoping that a lot of you also have taken on board some of the tax systems that are in System Builder, so that tax season is not quite as challenging as it has been in the past. The second one I want to put is value, which is the one that comes after positioning. It's not in this order, which is on the 25th of October. So there's some of you already on positioning, which is brilliant. Let's get you on value now. So positioning was about your business. Value is about your products and services. And how do we explain them? And how do we move up to the added value? So in the value one, we do start thinking about the performance measurement improvement system. How do we deliver that? How do we show people the value that can bring? And the third one I've put is gearing. So those people that are already on value and have moved up to advanced membership, then we can move on to gearing. Gearing is really about engaging your team and also really focusing on your customer service. So it talks about leveraging your time to earn more and work less. So part of it will be processes, but really about getting your team really engaged with it all. So I'm hoping at least one of those is relevant to you. If any of you have not even done Clarity yet, then please let us know. Either put it in the chat box or drop us a line, and Andrea and Elle and I will be ready to book a call. That's a really good call to have. Let us work out, let us see where you are now. Where do you want to be? What's your timescale? That stuff we've just talked about, and get you moving on this journey. So because if you've done it yourself, talking to your clients about it is so much easier, isn't it? Because you've had the experience, you know what it feels like. And so it's good to move on. Right, is there any questions before I go? It's true that if it's on the 11th, you could be traveling to the conference. And I'm really sorry about that. It's just one of those things. Again, it is 12:30 till 2. We will be recording it just as we record this. But obviously, if you want to be questioning us, and bringing some online examples, to the day, and asking Sarah some questions, then you probably need to be here live. But we will have a recording, obviously. Okay. Any more questions? Yes, Jane. Jane, I will contact you. That would be great. Okay. Well, if that's all, thank you very much, everybody. I'm hoping I haven't talked too much. I always usually do, don't I? And you know I get too excited about so many of these things, but that's my job, to get excited. And I'm here to talk about any of these things. So again, please follow up anything that you want me to follow up with you personally, or Angie or Ellen. That's no trouble at all. Right, well, thank you very much. I will be closing the meeting. I hope to see you all on the 11th. Thank you.